India has a deadly secret. It isn't hard to find. Walk down any street, as I did throughout India, and you notice something startling. In every direction you see men and very few women. There is even a place known as the Village of No Women. It has one of the lowest sex ratios on Earth. Now look closely at the faces of these girls. They are the lucky ones. They're alive. I came to India because I heard that 1 million of their sisters are systematically killed every year because of a gender preference for boys. The numbers are staggering. 50,000 female fetuses are aborted every month. Since 1980, an estimated 40 million girls are missing through sex-selective abortion, neglect, or murder.
It's the obliteration of a whole class, race of human beings. It's half the population of India.
Whether eliminated in the womb or tossed out in the trash, they call it gendercide.
We put very little value to girls and to women. So they're always in danger from birth to death. If they are born, then they might be murdered just because they're girls.
But why in a land where men revere female goddesses and where the current president is a woman is there such ingrained discrimination against girls to the point of killing them? The main reason is money. Girls are a financial burden to their parents who must pay expensive dowries to marry them off. The dowry is a cultural tradition and the single biggest reason Indians prefer boys.
When a boy is born, how is that greeted?
Oh, it's with great joy because he's going to bring in the mullah. You see, he's going to be the person who gets married to a girl who's bringing in the money.
But in this series of photos, a very different scene. A woman gives birth, a doctor brings the child out to her waiting family-in-law, who immediately check the baby's gender. You only have to look at the woman's face to know it is a girl, who will one day cost this family a lot of money.
The amounts of dowry have become higher and higher, and families can get into huge debt bondage just to be able to pay the dowry to get a daughter married.
Once married, if a girl's family doesn't pay a set amount of dowry, she's often beaten, tortured, even burned to death. And while dowries have been illegal for decades, the law is mostly ignored. So how do 1 million girls go missing every year? The answer is down 1,000 streets like this one, in clinics that can exploit the use of this machine, found in nearly every hospital in the world, the ultrasound.
Finding out the gender of your baby before he or she is born is a booming business everywhere in India. In this small town, just on this stretch of the street, there are 10 ultrasound clinics. 10 places where a woman can find out whether she's having a baby boy or a baby girl, and it's illegal.
In India, it is a crime to use an ultrasound to determine the sex of your child. It is also illegal to perform an abortion based on gender. Every ultrasound clinic is required to post the law. It is rarely enforced.
People walk in the open in broad daylight. Doctors are performing the sonograms in broad daylight. So it's not even like underground, it's overground, accepted, but not talked about.
Many assume Indian gendercide is a crime of the poor and ignorant. It is not. With their higher dowries and easy access to ultrasound machines, it is the rich and educated who, at an alarming rate, use sex selection abortions to weed out potential daughters. Census figures show the problem is getting worse among the wealthiest families. In some areas of India, there are only 300 girls for every 1,000 boys.
It is just that the more educated and sophisticated we become, the more educated and sophisticated our ways of getting the girl eliminated becomes.
Dr. Meetu Khurana is a 34-year-old pediatrician and mother of 5-year-old twin girls.
Isn't anybody thinking ahead that if you have all these boys being born, eventually when all those boys grow up to be men, they're not going to have...
The issue is everybody agrees there have to be females, but nobody wants it in their own house.
Even her husband, also a doctor and part of the privileged class, even he and his family demanded that she give him a son.
My husband, he hates me. He wants to remarry because he wants to have sons, which I have not given him. So according to him, I was a useless wife. He wanted to throw me out.
It was in the 6th week of pregnancy when I came to know that I'm carrying twins. Then the pressure started for sex determination test.
So what did they say to you?
That they wanted to know whether girls or boys, and that they can't afford 2 daughters. So if there are 2 daughters, I should abort them.
When she refused to have an illegal sex determination test, she says her husband's family fed her a cake with eggs, knowing she was allergic. She was rushed to the hospital, where she says her husband and mother-in-law persuaded doctors to do an illegal ultrasound to find out the sex of the babies. To their dread, the twins are girls.
From that day onwards, the pressure started to get an abortion done or to get one of them killed.
To ensure she miscarried, Dr. Khurana says her husband and his family tortured her and deprived her of food until she fled to her parents, where she then gave birth.
Did anybody ever try and hurt the babies in any way?
When she was 4 months old, my mother-in-law threw her down the staircase.
The net effect of this growing gender gap is alarming. When we went to this village in Haryana, you could see the men desperate to find women to marry.
They are killing the girl child in the womb. This old man sitting next to me never married. He tries to warn younger men that even though boys are traditionally preferred, it creates a shortage of women.
How will we get married? It is a problem.
Some women are trafficked in, sold, and forced to marry village men, like this woman who bore her husband 8 sons. When we asked the rest of the young men if they had trouble finding a bride, all raised their hands.